the wait is over. Power Spike Worlds is online for our first episode. We are deep into the Swiss stage. Dgon here alongside Dom and Jamada. We've made it. Surprises. The unlikeliest 3-0 candidate, especially from Korea. KT has made it on in. LCS is back, baby. That's how long it's been since we've had an episode. We're going to touch on it all here this week in Power Spike. Look at that. Jamada back in the lovely room with all the products and the heart mirror behind him. Dom in Korea, already learning Korean, trying to prep for next year. How have you been? Jamada?
I've been good. I'm enjoying my time here in the States still. I actually got to see more of the States this time because I went up to the tri-state area for a wedding. I went up to New England.
New England?
New England, yeah. And I kept on saying I was from Old England, and it made all of the Americans very happy every single time I made that joke. So that was great. Honestly, it was just fun to actually kind of stretch my legs and go to new places here. I've been coming to Texas and avoiding Dom. Even though I'm in the same state, I'm probably like 5 hours or 6 hours away from every time I'm here. But just seeing more places, I'm more or less relaxing and then waiting to watch Worlds on this curse-arsed schedule, being 6 hours behind my usual, because the games start at like 3 o'clock. Here in Dallas. Yeah, it's like just welcome, bro. Yep. So that part's
all year round.
Hard, but otherwise, yeah, I've just been chilling out, waiting for Power Spike to come back. All of our schedules have been completely shagged one way or another. Yeah. But I'm happy to be back, man.
I was in Japan, Dom traveling to Korea, obviously New England jokes for Jamada there. Dom, how's your trip out here and how's it been so far in Korea?
It's been pretty good. I've been making the same joke. I tell people that I'm from old Korea and they just look at me. So it's been not really working the same, but it's been nice.
Have you experienced the US flags yet? Have you experienced that?
No, but I've been seeing protests all over the place. Like they're protesting something like every day in Korea. Like I don't know what's been going on, but like people are not happy. Like I don't know what the protests are about.
I went out today with I guess another caster, and my girlfriend and another caster went out today, and I was surrounded by like the youth and some Korean flags, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool! Like they're protesting. They're going to be doing something here in Itaewon." And then I saw some U.S. flags, and then I saw like I'm not going to get political here, but then I saw like Charlie Kirk like massive banners, like the ones they wave at like football games. Massive banners, and I go to the bar that we're meeting at,
and
it's
lightweight
is there
presence in Korea?
There was huge, and so anytime you see a U.S. flag, it's usually not necessarily as much about the U.S. as it is about right-wing politics. So it's interesting to see both sides. It was people that were for that and people that weren't for that. But it's very, very active here in Korea, and in Itaewon, which is not.
Bro, I think if T1 ends up losing in this 1-2 match, like there's gonna be a protest. So there's gonna be another protest. Like it's coming because people are not happy right now.
Yeah. Let's dive into that again. Before we dive into that one, that's pretty good. Before we dive into that one, probably the biggest news that affects this show. El Domenico, you hinted it multiple times throughout the season with your work to Cloud9. It was leaked by Sheep Esports.
Yep. The Spanish and French fans brigaded it, as always,
As always.
That's how it works.
They have other things to worry. They have to worry about their teams right now. One team didn't make it to Worlds. The other one staring down, not winning at all. Heading on over to LA to become strategic coach over at Cloud9. So that's where we start today at this week's Sack Tap. Let's get into it. All right, Dom, the floor is yours. How did that all come about? What was that conversation like? Inera, what is the structure going to be? What are the goals that you want to accomplish? And
I mean, it's all alleged. I don't know, bro. You tell me. Somebody tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read the article fully, other than your review of you being old and washed jungler or whatever looking to go coach. What it was the current setup of your of this contract that you had for 2025?
I mean, to be honest, for the beginning, I didn't even have a contract. It was just like a consultant thing. And then I started, through time, bringing things to the team, bringing more and more stuff to the team. And then eventually it got to the point where it's like, I mean, I just want to either be on stage and actually be a coach, or I'd rather just not do what I'm doing, because I feel like so much of the job needs to be done like on the day. And especially in Fearless Draft, like so much of coaching is going to be like being able to assess in a series what type of picks are down, what type of classes of champions are like limited, what does that mean for the games, like what becomes super OP. And I feel like when you coach remotely, I think it probably used to be more impactful because I mean, it was not Fearless, right? So you could have like a general idea of how you wanted to play most games, and then adaptations could come throughout, but they're not as drastic as adaptations now, where it's like literally you just have to play a different comp every single game. So I think that it's like something that I've wanted to do for a while, but also I just feel like it's more exciting to coach than to stream. It's like I feel like I could just stream like whatever, and like it's like a cushy job, but it's not super exciting to stream. Like it's like not very low lows, not very high highs. It's just like pretty good all the time, where I feel like competing has always been way more exciting, or like super depressing,
Yep.
Yeah.
When people ask, and again, my time doing it was small. Jamada, you could speak to this too. I don't think there were as many highs as winning. Again, and we didn't win too much at Golden Guardians, so each win felt crazy good, and we only beat the top teams. And then nothing felt worse than the just crushing weight of losing and feeling like, you have no progress to show for it. Jamada, what was your experience like there's coaching?
Yeah, I mean, it's as you're both saying, right? Like there is no better high, and I think especially from a coaching position, it's like getting to see the progress of like habits that you're instilling, or watching conversations that you have then tangibly play out on the Rift in the game. That's where it's at, right? And I think especially I'll always say, as someone who's a compare, you always kind of chase that high, and I think at some point, if you like stop competing, like Dom, you've been coach streaming how long now? Like 6, 7, 8 years, right? Like it's
5 years or something.
Yeah, it's not been 5 years, buddy. Whatever you say, old man.
I was a gameplay streamer before, Jamada. I wasn't just coach streaming.
I know. Hey, listen, I want you to remember, you are so old that I used to come home from school and watch your videos. Yeah, just remember. Anyway,
I was playing solo queue, bro. Coach streaming didn't even exist 7 years ago.
Rek'Sai Udyr, baby.
Rek'Sai Udyr, the famous Fiora incident from top lane. I'm sure you remember. But like I think after a while, no matter what, whatever your vice is in competition, like for me it was sports when I was younger. At some point you want that feeling back, right? So yeah, I'm not super surprised, and I think again, it's kind of like an addiction in many ways, where it's like, okay, there's these crazy highs, there's these lows too, and I think those lows, depending on the kind of personality that you have inside of especially League, those are what really change you, make you kind of adapt, not just like how you approach the game, but also like at times just general life philosophy. So yeah, it's in many ways I still miss it, right? I haven't and gosh, I used to coach in very, very low compared to where you guys are at. But it is still one of the best feelings, where again, just that teaching moment, feeling like you've actually guided and helped improve something, and especially in the scope of League, there's not too many better feelings just because of the complexity of it all.
And I think in the landscape of like kind of what you said there, Jamada, of people wanting to chase that again, we've had a lot of the stream teams and streamer teams, and you did do this. You did this for a season there, Dom, with Ruddy Sack. I think it's big props to someone who would leave the comfortable life or consistent life of streaming and trying to do both and have your cake and eat it too, compared to understanding what it's like to go fully all in, allegedly, of course. So
allegedly. I mean, also it's like from my perspective, I mean, I've always been somebody who just like believes in myself in these situations. So like kind of the same way as when I started streaming, like I'm going to bet on myself. Like I'm going to believe that if I dedicate full time to coaching and I do it as hard as humanly possible, and I just full time it, that I'm going to be able to make a difference, and that difference will be enough for the team to win. Like that's just what I believe, right? So that's another thing that it comes down to. Like I know a lot of the Spanish fans like think that it's going to be like a huge, like I mean I think that's kind of fun, right? Because it's like either I'm going to get exposed, right? If the drafts are bad or whatever, either I get exposed or it's like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I think for me, it's like it's an exciting, way to test myself. I've been somebody who's been dedicating my life to like learning more about League for, 15 years at this point or something like that. So
yeah,
let's see what it looks like.
I think what I'm most interested in seeing from him, Jamada, is as a bro fan, are you going to be an Edgar and be like, well, I drafted them, great draft, so we'll take care of it in practice?
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Are you gonna throw him under the bus?
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna be I told them. I've told Blabber already. I'm gonna be a blame the players coach. Take zero accountability. just blame the players at every turn. I'll be a Tabe style. Tabe is my inspiration, so I'll hit him with a maybe the draft was bad, but maybe the gameplay was worse. There we go.
That's good. That's good.
And I mean, look, what's good as well is of course this all being allegedly. Even if you guys don't manage to like hit like the important goals and international worlds at the end of the year, you could just fall back on the excuse that the C9 org might just be cursed since 2020 or 2021. Like that's a valid argument now at this point, like
yeah, I mean honestly I'll just be like, hey, like it didn't go any worse than it went the last couple of years. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Exactly. It didn't get better, didn't get worse.
Dom, I'm gonna hit Jamada with some LCS history. That kind of thinking sounded like some Jordan Sherman Immortals. You remember that CEO, Jordan Sherman? That's what that sounded like. I did an interview with him when he decided to go with Invert as the coach. Gabe, a young coach, did well at FlyQuest, got the reins over at Immortals. And it really felt like, well, I mean, it wasn't my pick here. And threw him under the bus when it went bad. And then I think they got Gyoto, and then they did good. So, or something like that. It was something like that. And I was like, damn, that's cold. But also, I guess that's how you stay on top like the boss. So good thinking there, Jamada. Already prepped for the return to LCS. This episode of Power Spike is brought to you by Prize Picks. Now, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss out on any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 player stats. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in. And if you really love one single player, well, Prize Picks has you covered, where Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to pick more of Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, well, you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. That's not what I'm doing this time, because I like to see college players succeed over in the big league, which is what I'm doing with these picks this week. And when I take a look at some of the stat projections that they have here at Prize Picks, one that stands out to me is former Alabama standout. It's Bryce Young over in Carolina. He's been given the stat projection of 0.5 touchdowns against the Jets. Yes, the Jets that are just woeful and they stink and they're not very good. 0.5 against Bryce Young, mobile, buys time, and a thrower more than a runner. Give me the more than 0.5 touchdowns against the Jets. And then speaking of another college standout, my alma mater, I guess classmate, I'm going to go to the same time, but also a fellow Virginia Tech Hokie. It's Byshell Tootin. He's the running back behind huge standout Travis Etienne over in Jacksonville. So you're thinking, okay, why would you pick him? Well, he hasn't been so effective lately with his runs. Byshell Tootin going up against the Rams. The Rams are middle of the road in terms of the rush defense. 15 yards is the ask. Last week, He ran 14. So I think Prize Picks knows what they're doing. They're dangling the bait out there. And I'm taking it. Give me the more than 15.5 rush yards against the Rams. Those are my picks for this week's at Prize Picks. Now, you can head on over to Prize Picks and download the app today using the code PowerSpike to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code PowerSpike to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Next topic here in Sack Tap. So LCS is back, CBLOL back, LTA, the one and only champion of it, FlyQuest. Does this fix things? Is it too late? Are you hyped that it's back? What does that make you feel here, Jamada?
Well, I actually got to be at finals, which was a very lovely experience. And I mean, I think just to speak to the fans for a second, I think the fans are fucking excited. Outside of quite literally FlyQuest lifting the trophy, I don't think the venue got any louder than that announcement inside of the arena. Because I think everyone just kind of knew and felt that it had to happen. Like, there's no the LTA has been an unequivocal disaster by like every other logistical metric, right? For both the South and especially the North, right? I know Monty posted the numbers because Monty
was brutal.
Monty, he loves it, and exactly, it was brutal, right? I think the summer peak for the English broadcast was something like 94K in summer, which usually is the highest number of the entire year. And they were down almost 60% in peak view. It was a nasty set of numbers, a very, very nasty set of numbers, and I just feel like at every hurdle here, Riot kind of failed to at least try to make the LTA brand something, right? It really felt to me, and I'm sure probably to a few others, that they kind of hoped that the idea of things like the cross region play, right, would carry them through, and like the quirky formats would kind of make things feel fresh. And it
could have maybe if like if the first interaction was more like this interaction where it looked kind of close, where it's like, okay, NA is better, but it's like the first seed of, Brazil is better than the second seed of NA. Like, if that was the beginning, even if it wasn't how things really were, that level of delusion could have carried the hype between the league. But the way it opened was the top 4 NA teams went, 8-1 against the top 4 Brazilian teams, and all of them got eliminated, and then it was just NA playoffs in Brazil. Like, that was the beginning of it. So Brazilian fans fucking hated it from the beginning. It just felt like they just lost their league to just get punched down on by a region that had way more resources and was like always, given way more from Riot for the entire existence of the esports. So, I mean, it was terrible right from the beginning. But then also, it's like there was no interaction, bro. There was like one tournament at the beginning of winter, or like at the end of winter, but at the beginning of the year, and then one tournament at the end of summer where it's like one team's guaranteed. I mean, it just didn't feel hype at all. Like, it didn't feel like it was well thought out. And yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of times when you have a decision like this, it's very hard for them to do anything in the middle of the year. Like, they probably wanted to change it back to LCS like immediately after seeing winter, but it's just too hard to do it based off how they've done everything with the competitive circuits and seeding and all this stuff, world slots. So it was nothing they could do. But I mean, it didn't feel like it was the same region. It still felt like it was CBLOL and LCS. It's just under this horrible brand.
I mean, even in the broadcast, right? It felt a little clunky.
I mean, you could tell.
Here at World, the casters all hated it. Clunky as well.
Yeah,
you could tell all casters hated it. Like, there's no caster that legitimately liked LTA more than LCS. There's not one. You can see it in their eyes. You can hear it in their tone of voice. Like, they're trying to do their best job possible, but they're happy that LCS is back. Everyone wanted LCS to be back.
Yeah. I mean, even down to like smaller things, like for me, where I know this might not seem like a particularly big thing, but even like, bro, LTA North was still using the same fucking theme for the league on the broadcast. Like, the theme basically didn't change. Like, there was no actual evolution. I mean, what's jarring is last year the LCS and arguably like the back end of 2023 as well, like, they were doing great. Like, as a brand, as a broadcast, things were starting to actually feel revitalized. People were starting to feel positive about the league. Storylines were starting to feel really like engaging again for the first time in maybe 2.5-3 years.
Thanks, NRG. Thanks, FlyQuest.
Yeah, right. But again, this LTA rebrand really killed a lot of that. Well, it murdered basically all of the momentum coming out of those years. And it's hard to not think that this damage is basically just irreversible.
Yeah.
The hope is that the LCS brand is genuinely so recognizable that it does claw back at least some return, right? But again, it doesn't undo. You can't get time back, right? Like that's just an unfortunate reality of life. So we'll have to see exactly what they do with the LCS, especially like the format. Do they still want to have any like cross-region play? I fucking hope not, right? Outside of basically the very end of the year. You have to remember, they're still getting seeds, but I don't think people are happy with how the seeds have also laid out, right? Because CBLOL is now only, as far as we know, the earliest announcement is they're getting one world seed, and that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a very unfair consequence that there's no way the South are happy with, right? They've had their region nuked effectively, like the visibility of their region nuked, and now in the next year, cool, they get their brand back, but they're now at Worlds, they're only getting one seed, and there's been no talk about MSI, right?
Yeah.
And MSI has a format that's pretty hard to adjust. So
wasn't the thing like the third seed just needed to be like a playoff? That's what everyone was like, hey, these announcements seem great, everything feels great, but the third seed from Americas should be a battle between LCS versus CBLOL, and then that feels like a slam dunk. One NA, one Brazil, and then the battle between the two. I think that was the big feeling across there, and then if there's an MSI win, you get the extra seed.
Yeah, I just think that the way it's worked for years, I mean, people are going to look at the result of this like summer LTA playoffs and people are really riding on that. But if you look at like historically how NA has done versus Brazil, like our third seed has historically outperformed their first seed. Like their first seed hadn't got out of play-ins until last year. That was the first time that their first seed was better than our third seed, like placed higher than our third seed. Up until then, like our third seeds would get out every single time, and the Brazilian first seed was just losing and sometimes even placing lower than like OCE. So I feel like people are there's like extreme recency bias when it comes to like how should Brazil get a slot from NA? Like I would say that historically also LCP, like PCS, if you look at like the third seed from NA, historically the third seed from NA has been way stronger than the third seed from like LCP / even if you look at LCP and VCS and you added them together, you add LGL, whatever, all those teams, generally the third seed from NA performs higher than those than the third best team out of Japan, OCE, like the everything that makes up LCP right now. So like it would make more sense for Brazil to compete with like a team like PSG or something for the slot than compete with NA. Like I don't understand why NA should be losing slots based off performance. Like I think that's what people don't really understand is, historically NA has obviously got shit on by LCK and LPL, and even the third seed from LEC has outperformed NA a lot of the time. But if you compare it to like LCP and other regions, like NA's third seed deserves to go. Like if we're starting to cut seeds from other regions, I don't think you should start from NA. It doesn't make sense. Like, based off history of the tournament.
Dom hitting the recap of the Raz tweet that brought out the facts when there was a lot of this talk about where the siege had come from. And honestly, I think the big winner is Riot, right? Riot's getting people to talk about these two regions fight for the slot than what Dom said, which is if you want to go results based, let's take a look at the numbers here. Although LCP looking pretty good, CFO looking pretty good. And at least
I would say
when we watched
CFO is looking pretty good. I don't think the LCP in general is looking like that great.
I was it FlyQuest in Wales, right? Is that who played earlier? I watched that the other day, I was like, man, I like this matchup because it's a matchup of styles. Like that's a matchup of styles here that, okay, FlyQuest, they're gonna play, I think it was front to back here, and they want to play it out correctly. Wales, they're gonna fight, and they want to fight you, and that is why there has been upsets in the past by that region, because their teams don't change, whereas the North American 1-2 seeds in the day would get really tight, not do anything, and then lose. That was like the NA Classic, except for Cloud9, who would fight and do shit. And it was fun. And so I appreciated that clash of styles, and then be able to explain that to someone who was newer about the history of the regions and why there were upsets from those regions, why GAM had those moments, why was it AHQ were able to make those moments. Some of those smaller teams from the old GPL, the old LMS, PCS region, they were able to make those upsets. So anyways, just a little bit of that catch up there with LCS and CBLOL. Final thoughts here, Jamada? Did you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say I like agree with parts of like the conclusion of Dom of the Well slots thing. I think for me, what's more jarring to see, and I don't want to like tangent too far away from the core topic, but it's just like overall, I think just reducing seeds and like representation is not a good thing for the esport, right? And I think you look at Worlds, we've gone in the span of 3 or 4 years from having 24 teams to 17 teams at the tournament. And like, yes, okay, cool. Better teams, more cutthroat, yada yada yada, whatever like pure raw analyst argument you want to use, which like I think is a fair one, right? Admittedly. But I think in the spirit of what the World Championship has usually represented, seeing like, you know, less Brazil, at least to me, like it sucks. Seeing like even arguably less of like a 4 seed out of Europe and NA, and arguably even, you know, with the complete consolidation of the Oceanic and other regions that aren't LCK and China and Korea, I don't think it helps the esport like in the long term, like to grow. Like from a grassroots perspective, you want these regions to be thriving to eventually. Again, I think it's like a pyramid, right? You want like the foundation of it all to be strong, and when you've got all of these regions with very, very passionate fan bases, but then they're not getting representation, I think that just harms the potential longevity when you're not, you know, allowing Brazil to exist internationally as much as they have historically, even if they don't perform well, right?
I mean, I don't even know if that's true though, but because aren't they going to get like, because now Brazil is going to get a slot, right? There's going to be 16 slots. It's going to be 4 Korea, probably. Like it'll probably be 4 Korea, 3 China, 3 NA, 3 EMEA, 3 Asia Pacific, or maybe it's going to be 18 teams. Maybe it'll be only 3 Korea,
but
3 China, 3 Americas.
They've killed play-ins now, right? So the problem is that unless they reintroduce like a proper play-ins section of the tournament, these regions just get like, or like at the least CBLOL specifically gets disproportionately fucked as of right now, this moment. Right?
I mean, at least like I don't know. I think it depends. Like
my problem,
because like for me, it's like, does it matter more to go? Because I mean, generally, what happened most of the time, like for most of League's history, I'm like, when was the last time Brazil had made a group stage? It was like what?
But to me, it's not about the results. It's about
the representation.
It's about the participation and actually.
Yeah, but exactly. Present. Like they're not getting represented in the actual tournament, like ever almost.
But now, they're only going to be able to send one team, even if that team is like objectively just always going to be the best team. That maybe is the closest.
Didn't they always only send one team? Brazil.
Yep, they will always send one team.
Yeah, they only sent one team every time.
It's because what you're saying is representation for the minor regions, but Brazil specifically would only send one team. Yeah, I understand your point. You're using the wrong example, but I understand your point. Like,
sure,
because I think a big thing that we didn't talk about, and I almost forgot, was that LTA, not LTA, Latam North and Latam South gone. Right, that was something that came up about the conversation. So the Isuris, the Leviathan, the if Leon didn't make it out, those orgs gone, and they have been in not without fault, not without controversy, I'm sure, financially or whatever, but they've been pretty consistent players in the space. These are orgs that have been around for a long time and players that have been around for a long time leading that way. And now they don't get representation there. They don't get the opportunity for representation there. I think. Which
yeah,
is
it's
kind
true. I
of
mean, it
the
fucks
bummer.
LLA, but for Brazil specifically, like they should be happy with the new format because now they're being considered like a major region, right? So, like for example, in first stand, Korea gets 1 seed, China gets 1 seed, EMEA gets 1 seed, North America gets 1 seed, Asia Pacific gets 1 seed, and then Brazil gets 1 seed. So they're getting a seed with the 5 major regions, whereas before they would go into like a qualifier with a bunch of teams and they would never make it out. So I feel like Brazil is actually going to get more representation internationally, and then also they're going to be seeded directly into MSI. They'll be seeded directly into Worlds, so they'll get actual chances to play versus better teams. Than what they had before, which is where they would go to internationals, and most of the time they wouldn't actually make it to like the group stage or the Swiss stage or whatever.
And if I were picking based on this criteria, again, I don't like this criteria. I would give a seed to Vietnam before I gave it to Brazil. Like the Vietnamese fan base, the Vietnamese results have been higher, better, more viewership. Like that is just what it's been, and that's why the player base is bigger. Like I agree with Dom on this in terms of Brazil specifically should be happy with this representation, what they got. But I agree with you more, Jamada, in terms of minor region representation and getting to see themselves on the big stage, even if it was just play-ins, not to make it out, but just
Vietnam, it's like, the whole league was match fixed. Like that's the whole problem. It's like the reason why VCS doesn't exist is because literally all 8 teams were convicted of match fixing, right? Like every team had players match fixing on it. So they dismantled the league and brought it into LCP. So they brought the teams into LCP because the sustainability was just not there in Vietnam. That's why every team decided to like partner with betting sites and decide to match fix. So or like players from every team decided to do it. I guess the teams themselves might have not. So it's like, I would give it to Vietnam as well. But if your whole region match fixes, like they probably have to do something about the region, right? So
yeah.
Still to this day, it's fucking annoying because if you look at like betting sites, it's like VCS games still to this day, it's like they'll give you like the weirdest markets. Like I don't know, like things are still like people are still like betting sites are scared to like put Vietnamese teams like with like the standard books, like they're very, scared of what happened because obviously, when there's match fixing, the match fixing takes advantage of the betting sites. Like that's who is losing when there's match fixing, right? It's not actually like the players cheating each other. It's like if you lose on purpose and the other team wins, it's like hurting the integrity of the league, but the crime is that you're stealing the money from the
betting site. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like the whole idea is that you're colluding in order to take advantage of the betting site.
Yeah, I don't like this shift forward. I didn't like this play-in with T1 versus IG. You have LPL versus LCK. I don't like that. And it robs us of opportunities for the randomness of the draw that leads to an Albus Nox Luna, that leads to a Kaboom, that leads to an Ints getting the upsets and making things happen that way. The GAM base defense, which was a bug. It was a bug. I can already hear Ox being like, his maw didn't proc, but it removes those types of upset opportunities that makes competition great and gets player bases in regions where the player base is high to continue to grow, even though it's a smaller market, developing market, whatever it was. So, that is much larger conversation than LCS is returning and CBLOL is returning, but we'll see how it all unfolds because I still don't know the format for next year. Like, hopefully I'm back. I think I'm back for next year, but I don't know what the LCK format is. I don't know what the global format is and how the LCK format fits in that. So all that's still being decided and disseminated out for next year. All right. Well, that was a big chunk of the SAC tap. So we are good and on our way for this week's Power Spike, which is brought to you by our new sponsor here in Fabletics. Now, whether you live in activewear, you can never have enough. But the good stuff usually costs a fortune, which is why Fabletics is here. You get that premium feel and performance like the expensive brands without the crazy price tag. Now, the way that you do that is becoming a Fabletics VIP, where you sign up as a VIP and you get 80% off of everything. And after that, the membership is about $60 a month, unless you skip that month. And that monthly fee gives you exclusive membership benefits, including a credit you can use towards a full outfit bundled up to $100. And on the first of every month, they send you an email and you decide whether you want to purchase a member credit or skip that month. And the cool part is the member credit isn't just for yourself. It could be for anyone that is special in your life or you want to get working out a workout bud with. They've got you covered. Now, they have themselves a bunch of different workout products. One of the ones that stands out the most is the casual tee. It's been great to use. The crew socks as well. The 24/7 tee has been comfortable and high quality. So make sure to check them out over at Fabletics. And you can do that by heading on over to fabletics.com/powerspike and sign up for a VIP and get 80% off of everything. That's fabletics.com/powerspike to sign up as a VIP and get 80% off of everything. You know, I love fresh workout gear, but it always feels like I'm overspending, and no longer is that the case with our friends over at Fabletics. Head on over to fabletics.com and use fabletics.com/powerspike and sign up to become a VIP and save 80% off of everything. Thanks to our new friends over at Fabletics. Yeah, Fabletics, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kevin Hart. It was great. Head on over there and join the 2017. Pretty awesome. Okay, let's move on up to our next topic here. And it's time to dive into Worlds. We'll skip past T1 and IG. Maybe we can talk about it later. That one, 3-1, T1, they're now in the dance. But that's led to some surprises. Actually, we're going to keep it LCK focused here because it's a huge surprise from the LCK. There is a team that makes it out 3-0, gentlemen. And it's not Gen G. It's not reigning champs T1. It's not former LCK champs Hanwha Life Esports. It's the worst top laner from the major region, Perfect, getting the perfect type of matches against him where he gets to play Rumble. KT are 3-0. They made it on out. And T1, for the first time ever, the official broadcast made a little clip there. History made with this loss. T1 for the first time ever, 1-2 in the Swiss stage. So let's take a look at it in this week's Keeper Kick. Which one is the bigger surprise here? Is it KT 3-0 or is it T1 1-2? All right, I laid the groundwork. Which telecom-oriented team, not that it's not SKT, SKT, it's T1, is the bigger surprise here? Let's start with you, Jamada, because we're starting with you.
Okay, yeah, no, cheers. I mean, I actually, it's kind of hard for me to weigh up a bit because if we didn't know, like if you said beginning of Swiss, KT going 3-0, I would say, well, shit, that would be the most KT thing ever. Yep. Like, it would be the most KT thing ever. But I would not believe you just because, nah, surely not, right? Like, it's always just, it's the 1%er. But they draw MKOI, they definitely, if it weren't for, I think the Icon find that, like, they probably should have lost. They haven't looked like that good, and their draws have been pretty easy. I feel like they've, you know, the drafts they set up for themselves, they've been like pretty self-driving for the most part, right? And their draws have been easy up until top esports, right? And I think that's where I'll probably draw the stick in, draw that line in the sand and go, I'm more not surprised that Top Esports losing to KT than I am KT beating Top Esports, because I feel like throughout a lot of that first game in particular, you know, Top Esports to me had a very, very clear plan on how they wanted to beat KT, which was just try to make BDD's life misery. And I felt like a lot of the approaches for the most part in KT's matchup so far have just been BDD is God, he is dragging 4 corpses.
Yep.
And in fairness, I have to give credit to everyone on KT, really. They've really stepped up across the board, in my opinion. I feel like everyone is actually playing pretty well on KT. Now, granted, again, very important to highlight. The draws have been MKOI, Team Secret Wales, and then Top Esports. But they kind of manhandled they kind of manhandled top esports by the end of the series, right? And I think that's kind of the hilarious thing about it. That they have at least got one convincing win under their belt. Because I feel like that's one of the things.
At least one.
At least one. But it's still the surprise, right? I think with T1, I have seen enough cracks in their gameplay, even throughout their like glow up from in the middle of MSI to where we're at, now and then obviously throughout the entirety of summer, that I'm not super surprised that they're 1 and 2. They had to come in through play-ins. They drew FlyQuest, pushed them aside, no problem. But the CFO match, I'm not surprised that they lost. And I think a lot of people, this is probably the series where like people finally put a bit more respect on, or series was best of one, where people are a little bit more aware of like, hey, CFO are not just like, hey, they're from APAC, yes. This is a serious team. This is a very serious team, and I think they just match up really, really well into T1, especially right now with how Fake has been playing throughout a lot of this year, where unarguably the weakest point of his game right now is just his laning, right? And Honkyu put him through the floor basically every single time they've met this year. That has been more or less the case, right? Then of course you have the lane swap with Doggo on Draven into the top side of Doran on Rek'Sai. He doesn't get to play the game. You can definitely blame that a lot more on Doran than Doggo playing well, or playing that specific sequence well, just kind of fell in his lap. But things like that to me, where it's like T1 will have these really weird early games at times, and then just not recover. Like the good old classic argument of like, hey, at least they can clutch up. Like it just didn't kick in.
Well, it almost did, right? Faker
almost did.
Yeah, on the Cassiopeia had a couple kills, and they were like, "Oh, here it comes!" Right?
Yeah, but CFO, I feel like kind of took a second ish, relearned from some of their mistakes at MSI, because I still hold to this day. I feel like they should have beat T1 in that MSI series, where they lost 3-2. There was the Baron push in game 1 where they Kaiwin got caught in bot side jungle. And that was basically a game turning point in the game. And there was also just the really weird, I think it was the like full red comp where they had like Silas and Honkey was on Silas, and they had a bunch of other like very early game orientated picks. They just ran face first, never really like hit the ground running. And it was very, very antithetical to how they were playing out that series in general. But yeah, back to here. I think T1 being 1-2 is not a surprise. Especially, again, I think they have a very bad draw into CFO. I just think that matchup for them specifically has not looked good this year. And throwing it into a best of 1, like it was a best of 3. Strong argument that T1 probably just kind of reassess, come back in, maybe turn it around, go 2-1, right? But then going into Gen G afterwards, this game looked fucked from the draft. They have 3 losing lanes and a losing jungle matchup. I'm not really sure what the plan was, but Genji pretty much slow stroked them for 20 minutes. And and then just got like the freest fight at Atacon. Chovy was having a phenomenal game too. Duro had potentially the most wet dream poppy game of all time. Every single champion on the enemy team has a dash. I don't know, like it just felt like a very impossible game for T1 to win. So now we're potentially even introducing, like, I'm not going to say draft issues. I mean, T1 definitely have plenty in Fearless series. But if we're landing on drafts like that and best of 1s, it's not a good look. But I'm not surprised because they've done this. So I think the biggest surprise to me is definitely KT going 3-0. But it's just hilarious because it's the most KT thing ever. So it's like, hey, maybe I'm not surprised after all.
Yeah. Dom, get in there, man. Which one is the bigger surprise for you in terms of T1 or KT?
I would say the bigger surprise, considering everything, is probably T1. Like, I think the T1, they've just looked pretty off, and especially like when I think about, their level, generally. I mean, Owner is normally somebody who plays well all the time at this point for the team. He's like, in my opinion, the best player on the team with Carrier. Just depends on like who's getting which champions, but he's super consistent. And I feel like Owner has been like really not good so far. I thought he got pretty much hard out jungled by Junjia. I think that there's like this issue that LCK teams are having right now, like around Kiana. Like none of them really play it, so they have to ban it on both sides. And then like today, Genji even banned it into T1, so I don't know, maybe T1's playing it, but T1 didn't seem confident into it. And I think that the fact that, you know, it's one of those things where because Korean teams don't play Kiana themselves, they don't really, the reason why they can't play Kiana is not because like their hands are not good or something. Like they're obviously some of the best players in the world. It's because they don't really understand what makes this champion good, like what angles to fight at, like why is this champion considered OP in other regions. And that means that when they play against Kiana, it's like they don't really know the weaknesses of the champion. You saw it today, like G2 did really well at like punishing the weaknesses of Kiana, right? Like Shadow, it looked very hard for Shadow to play, but it doesn't seem like Korean teams have like a good idea of what they want to draft to make Kiana useless. So to me, I think that that's something that is kind of hurting T1, where normally it feels like Owner can play all the jungle champs. Like I don't remember the last meta where it felt like, you know, Owner was unable to play some of the champions in the meta. Maybe there was some times where it's like his Lilia wasn't super good at the beginning, but eventually he learned it. There was some times where there was like a fringe meta champion that he wasn't amazing on. I don't think he was super good at like the Xayah brand meta. But for the most part, they don't have like, they don't normally have these issues around champion pools. But then also the T1 gameplay just looks like sus, and like the way that they're drafting, it just doesn't even look like T1. Like when I saw Aurora get picked today, right, into Gen G, I was like, this Aurora is going to go top. Like, you know, normally when Aurora is picked these days, they like to send it top for T1 because Doran's just a better Aurora than Faker is. So I was thinking that it was going to be Aurora top. Ended up playing it mid. They play Aurora versus Orianna mid. And what's funny is that Chovy played the same exact matchup against Faker on the other side of it. And Chovy has won both sides of this lane. Like he is just better on both sides of the Aurora Orianna matchup. So I mean, just Jovi's just a level up on Faker when it comes to just individual like skill at this point. I think that no one will argue this in good faith, but it leads to like a lot of these weird situations where it feels like T1 doesn't have an answer right now to what the meta is. If somebody is first picking Orianna, what does T1 want to play? Like, what do they actually want to play into Orianna? I mean, they could have picked something like Talia there, but that's not actually a good matchup into Orianna. So then does Orianna need to be banned? Like, what is going to be like what is going to be their opinion of how they need to draft? Because if they are drafting things like Aurora and Wukong, and enemy team gets Xin, Orianna, Sion, I feel like they're never going to win this game. And then like Gumayushi's playing Kai'Sa. We all know he doesn't play Kai'Sa, right? He played it in game 1 of the Hanwha Life series. It was like not good. It's not that he's like the worst Kai'Sa you've ever seen. It's just he's not good on the champion. Whereas normally when you see him on one of his champions that he's good at, like Jhin, like Ashe when he plays it, like Xayah when he plays it, like Varus when it's a good game for it. When he plays one of his champions, you know, Lucian when he plays it, whatever, it feels like he has presence in the game. Whereas with Kai'Sa, he's just a complete passenger. You know, he's just hoping that something happens where he can be useful. So I feel like T1's draft read is off, and I just thought that they would be better. I don't think that they would be in like, I didn't think they would be in the 1-2. I thought that they would, you know, probably lose to a team like Gen G, who to me is just a better team than them.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they would lose to CFO. And like the way they lost to CFO was just weird. Like Doggo, like you got to remember, Doggo was like the worst AD carry in LPL. This guy was playing Rammus Yumi and running it down on purpose. Like he was really, really bad. He was an ultra prime player, and he was one of the reasons they were bad. You know, like there was a whole meme in the LPL community about how he plays on locked camera. Like if they locked camera, if you saw his POV, he doesn't pan his camera anywhere. He just plays on locked screen in team fights. And there's times where he's like fighting, and off his screen he could do something, but he just doesn't look at anything besides for like his screen. So to see Doggo just completely like take over an entire game, I don't know. That was super strange to me. It's like Doran died for a range minion, man. Like he actually just inted pretty much the whole game for a range minion. Like you give a Draven a Cashin and you send the Draven bot with like a BF sword. It's like, what the fuck? His team is supposed to have an advantage. You know, his team is supposed to have an advantage bot lane with the double range. And then if they opt out of the lane as Rek'Sai, you're just supposed to survive. As long as you just don't die to Draven, you're good in this type of game. So I don't know, man. I thought it was looking really bad for T1. They just don't look like themselves at all. And yeah, I mean, even in their win versus FlyQuest, I think FlyQuest played pretty poorly in this game. But also, you know, this is the beginning of like, oh, people are early picking Jarvan, and now people are kind of like cooling off on the Jarvan prio. So I don't even think that was like that amazing of a game for T1. when I look at their series versus IG, like I don't rate IG super highly. T1 could have easily lost that game 1 as well.
Yep.
So I'm more shocked by the fact that T1 has looked so bad across as many games as they played, as opposed to KT like has looked essentially only good to me in the series versus Top Esports. Like, and coming into it, if you looked at like my tier list, the way I did it, I had Top Esports in a category called likely to underperform. So like a team beating Top Esports is almost never going to like impress me. I'm not going to be like, oh, they're actually good. They beat Top Esports. You know, domestically, you beat Top Esports, I might think you're good. But internationally, you beat Top Esports, it's like, you saw, I mean, this is just classic Top Esports. The way they played this game, this is exactly how you expect them to look in a series.
Yeah. I think for me, because we've got one KT, one T1 voter here, it's surprising that KT has made it 3-0. Like, that's the surprise, that it was 3-0. Not that they played well, but that was 3-0. But that included a draw help, right? They got a pretty easy draw. So at the beginning of this stage, that seems outlandish, but it could have gone either way. And also, I think for T1, this is the moment. Like, this specific moment. 1-2, potentially be eliminated. New territory for them. I know that, again, the meme of like historic loss. But this is it. Like, you can't count out T1 until they're out. But now they're at a point where they could be out and they could be playing BLG. They could be playing BLG for their tournament lives in a best of 3 in a little bit. Like, it's just scarier. And you just didn't expect it to happen here, like at 1-2. So I think that's why this is, I don't know. Because KT just making it out 3-0 and not choking, and Perfect not throwing up on himself at the same time Peter decides to like gleefully int. Like, Peter looks like the way that Delight should be playing. Like, you get a couple of those oopsies, but most of the time you're like, damn, Peter, that was a good engage. Whereas Delight's been, what the fuck are you doing, Delight? And then it's like, oh, he made a play. He's made up for it. They're like kind of inversed. That's so surprising to me, but I think the more impactful one, because it's T1, because they don't have any more room for error, but they still have a little bit further to go than what people expected, rather than KT making it out a lot earlier. I think you go T1 here. It is just the Kaisa pick here, not so great. I don't know. Yeah, you don't have a lot of solutions for this stuff. Whereas now KT, they get to sit back. Hopefully they don't let the nerves take them. BDD doesn't let the nerves take them. They go crashing out in the quarterfinals and they have an opportunity, especially if it ends up being a good draw, because you got an LPL team and an LCK team staring down elimination, which means there's space for quote unquote beatable teams. Beatable teams could make it out and you could draw that, especially if you're KT or AL. Let us know at home. Who is your bigger surprise here? Is it T1 at 1-2? Obviously, that's very impactful. Or 3-0 KT who makes it out first, just because that seemed so unlikely that they're all firing off on all cylinders. Also, again, shout outs to Dgon. Also, it's Dgon, not Dgon. Dgon. Who's just been, since that upset win against Gen G, has been playing so well. And this is a guy who got benched, who looked like the worst AD carry in the LCK during LCK Cup, because people are kind of starting to make that excuse for Guma. It's like, Guma, he's had a tough year, whatever. Dgon's had a tough year, and he's been a rock on that team that doesn't get the credit, because it's been very easy to talk about the narrative of BDD, and cuz Dgon has been great. And if they're going to win, he needs to continue to play.
I mean, he kind of got bodied by Supa, but I'll let it slide.
Thank you for letting that one slide. But he's been solid. I think that's shored up a lot of Perfect's shortcomings when he has stinker games. Let us know in the comments who you guys believe is the bigger upset. All right. That is now knocked on out. Time to remind you about our friends over at Factor. Now, fall always feels like a reset between back to school, busier routines, and shorter days. Finding time to cook is tough. That's why Factor is here. Their chef prepped, dietitian approved meals make it easy to stay on track in something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets, especially here at the end as we move on over to Worlds. There are more variety and more meals to choose from, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. Support your wellness goals with even more GLP friendly meals and a new Mediterranean diet option packed with protein and good for you fats. I always do that. Fats. And then savor global flavors for the first time. Try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. From more choices and better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say that Factor has helped them live a healthier life. It has helped Dom live a healthier life, especially with his busy schedule. Dom, you're in Korea now, but how much are you missing Factor in your daily schedule, given the fact that we've had some crazy days?
If you saw what I ate yesterday, you'd know how much I'm missing Factor. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
You saw the restaurant I went to yesterday? Jesus, I was missing Factor. Like, so...
It's delicious, keeps you on track, healthy, easy to cook for yourself. So Factor, again, the choice here. Head on over to factormeals.com/powerspike50off and use the code powerspike50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code powerspike50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Thanks to our friends over at Factor for powering Power Spike. All right, next up, let's move on into Highkey, Lowkey, Nokey, because there's been a lot of talk about champions and which ones are good, which ones are not, champion strength. We've had some unique picks as well. Right, sneaking on in was the Anivia. We saw Ashe during the play-ins by Guma. Had a lot of champion diversity here. The Jarvan has been shit, but is it shit? Let's ask our experts as we dive into it in this week's Highkey, Lowkey, Nokey. I want you guys to, let's get into it. Let's transition to it. That was like one of the shittiest tosses I've ever done. Now, explaining the rules of this one like this. So champions have been played. Which ones do you think are you vibing with and not? Let's just use vibing. Is there, and only with ones that are played or banned so far. No pocket picks needed here, Dom and Jamada, but ones that you've seen that you're like, this is tough, whether it has to be played on in because it's good enough to pick, or whether it's something that is like great, but we're not seeing enough of. So Jamada, let's start with you on the Nokey. Which ones are you not vibing with? Or which one are you not vibing with?
Maybe it's because it's been losing a lot, as there have been plenty of picks that have been losing a lot. But funnily enough, I'm finally Nokey on Cassante. Now, I remember there was a point where it started to come back into the meta towards the beginning of summer, I want to say. And Dom, you mentioned it, and you were like, dude, I'm seeing, I can't remember if it was LPO or LSK, like top lanes are starting to pick Cassante again, they're doing it blind, they're getting like these horrible matchups, or they're like giving over, they're doing it in like losing situations where they're at best always going to go neutral. And it feels like we're either seeing that now again, or the players are also just playing horribly on top of that. And I'm kind of there right now. Like, I don't know. I feel like Cassante, in his current form, he's not like the powerhouse blind pick that he used to be. He's also in a meta where there are still very obnoxious champions where he doesn't necessarily like punish them in lane, like he somewhat used to be able to do in some of his different iterations. Obviously, he's had to like tune some change reworks at this point. But I also just feel that even in front to backs, which I feel like is mostly the strongest version of League right now, he's just not offering that much unless you're playing into a comp that's diving into you, right? And even then, I'm struggling to see him actually have, on average, the kind of impact that I'm seeing picks like Sion have in the same category, right? Or I'm seeing the occasional Ornn, or like an Aatrox, or we've seen a few Poppy tops now. Obviously, today we saw Broken Blade do it into Cassante, and that's one of the champions I've said forever. If you're gonna pick like some semi-weird off-pick into Cassante. Like, Poppy doesn't let that guy play the game. So it was nice to see that as a counter and answer. But Cassante, I don't know. I'm not hot on it anymore. And at least statistically, it's doing pretty bloody horribly at Worlds as of right now. And I just feel like there are better picks, and one of them definitely being Sound that fulfills that frontline role significantly better with arguably more pros even than cons. I feel like you should only really be picking Cassante if it's like enemy team is full dive and you're basically setting up to have a very defensive composition in general where you're looking for re-engage and turn. But we're not seeing that off Cassante picks right now. They're treating it like a blind pick a lot of the time, and I don't see it.
Cassante 2-8 at Worlds. Broken Blade with the win, Doran with the win, Keen with the highest KDA in a loss, which was 6, but no kills, 1 assist, or 6 assists. But other than that, everyone at 1 or 0 of KDA on Cassante. It's been a tough one. I like that one. That was a good one. What you got here, Dom, for your Nokey champ?
I mean, Cassante is definitely down there for me. I think another one that I'm pretty low on is Ezreal. I feel like this champ just does like no fucking damage. Like Upset locked it into tanks. Right now, everyone's playing tanks. Or not everyone's playing tanks, but there's a lot of tanks that are being played. Like Sion is the highest prio top laner. Just people don't want to play it into Trundle. We've seen Orin, we've seen Cassante, we've seen people playing the things like tank, like Rek'Sai, which is not really a tank, but it's a bruiser with high HP pool. And it just feels like Ezreal just does 0 fucking damage. I don't know. Like even in today's game versus for BLG, I thought that like if Ezreal does damage, their comp is fine. Like because there's nothing that can contest Ezreal's range if Ezreal gets into his zone. But Poppy with just points in W, no armor at all, was like taking every Ezreal Q, and it didn't even matter. It was like 0 fucking damage. So I think that Ezreal is like a bait champion. I don't really know what you play it into. It's like pretty much the only value that I see from the champion is playing Ezreal. When the enemy team like a ton of dive and you Zaya, but Zaya sucks for the game, or Zaya's banned. Like that's how I see Ezreal looking right now. So yeah, I'm just not high on the champion. I don't know. Has it lost every game at Worlds? No,
It's
one top. But outside of that, I mean, it's losing like a ton. I mean, Viper won with it, but it's versus PSG. I mean, it's pretty bad for all out there.
So Ezreal is 2-3. But to your point, and I like this one again, compositionally, lost against Poppy, Ornn, and Sion tops, won against Cassante, and then a very mobile, I guess, composition that he was playing against in a Yorick, Nefiri, Talia, Caitlyn, Karma. So it was like, okay, the mobility is there. There isn't a tank I need to kill. I can play Ezreal. That one worked out, and that was Hanwha against PSG. But yeah, 2-3 here, and it was piloted by Elk, Eddie, and Upset in the losses. So not able to dish out the damage in this front to back. Give me the big tanky bruiser in the front, best of ones. Maybe it changes again later on once we get to best of threes, Fearless, and of course best of fives. Definitely best of fives because you run out of tanks. But for now, I like what you've honed in on. It is optimal to be playing that. Let's go back to you, Dom, here for your Lowkey pick. What's a champ that you're kind of rolling with that is consistent or that maybe is a little bit under the radar, but something that you like here?
Champion that I like that's a little bit under the radar, I would say like Mordekaiser. I think Mordekaiser's actually pretty solid. It's always been good into tanks, and a lot of people are blinding tanks, and I think that it's, magic damage dealing top laner, and I think it's very good against a lot of these team comps that rely on being together all the time. Like if you have champs like Wukong, like if you're playing into, for example, the team comp that was played today by FlyQuest, where it's like, Wukong and Sion, they really want to fight together all the time. So I think that champ is something that's definitely pretty useful, and I think that it's always been something that's been somewhat of like a Wukong counter. Top lane, it used to be a Wukong counter when Wukong was played top, but it still functions the same way. Like Wukong can't really deal with Mordekaiser well at all. So I think it's something that we'll see more of later on. I mean, it's something that 369 has always played well. Could definitely see a player like Doran playing it. And if people are blinding tanks, I think that's something that should be looked at.
Yeah, I think today, in the what game was it? The FlyQuest game. I think Team Secret Wells, they tried to put the Wukong into the Shadow Realm and almost killed him there, but that game was so far gone at that point. And Team Secret Wells was so far behind that made it tough. That's the only loss that Mordekaiser's had, but I like that kind of shout out there. Opposite side. Oh no, Whippo had the loss on it, but then he had the win on it. So something we'll see as the tanks continue to roll on out. Interestingly enough, it was against T1. That was Doran Cassante win. Who it's a low-key pick here for you, Jamada?
A little bit more definitely on the radar, but funnily enough, also a Triforce tier champion is Corki. I actually feel like Corki's pretty damn good right now. Especially when you think about the ADs in pool, where I'd say Corki's got pretty damn good matchup into Kai'Sa. Obviously, people are picking Kai'Sa out of the wazoo right now. I think it's got a reasonably okay matchup in lane into Yunara. Obviously, Yunara definitely scales better front to back, but it's about what you can kind of get out of laning phase and then kind of the mid game spike, specifically with Corki in that matchup. And then just about everything else that's kind of been picked very, very regularly right now, outside of maybe Caitlyn, but even then, it will be like relatively dependent on lane matchups, I'd say, and then sometimes that's thrown out the window because of lane swaps, which we've seen Corki's be involved in quite a bit. So I feel like, to me, Corki is kind of fulfilling a lot of the role that, weirdly enough, Ezreal like wishes he could and kind of was at parts of this year, where it's like, hey, Ezreal has okay, like pretty decent range in lane. I wouldn't call him a bully like Corki is, but he certainly gets through lanes very, very comfortably. Outside of the real, you've picked Ezreal and it's into like kill lane with Varus, or like you run into like a really hard MF lane or the occasional Draven. And I just feel as though he spikes basically every time you need him, like on a good spike. Corki is just kind of strong. Like second dragon should have Triforce by then, right? By the time Akon's up, you should almost always be 2 items. And I feel like these general breakpoints, even for Herald, like sometimes you might have mirror mana if you're like in a really accelerated game, which lane swaps can occasionally give you. I feel like you can pretty much be there by like 16.5, 17 minutes if the Herald's not died on spawn. So to me, I feel like Corki is one of the stronger picks right now, just because lanes well into majority of the matchups. He's a exceptionally good lane swap AD, in my opinion. And also, he doesn't do a horrible job of getting through frontliners either. Like, he's not, he's not Vayne, or he's not, Kai'Sa in like real good ISO spots, but the Gatling on Armor Shred is enough, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going with Corki with my Lowkey. I think he's only dropped like one game, he's been picked like about six times.
Nope, almost 5-0. So 5-0. And you brought up Kai'Sa earlier. 4 of those games against Kai'Sa. So it was like Kai'Sa Alistair and twice, and Kai'Sa Nico, and then Kai'Sa Bard, the other one as well. So it feels like it's been answered because it keeps them safe from these engaged champs on the opposite side that could be a threat to get through any tough lane. So yeah, pretty good one there. Could have been a Highkey. So Jamada, what is your Highkey champ that is running the tournament that you've been vibing with the most?
Very lowball, but bro, I brought up Sion earlier when talking about Cassante. It's Sion. I just feel like Sion does what Cassante wants to do in most of his like ideal setups, but better. And yeah, I think it was Rest. It was Rest or Driver who had that crazy game where he got like 2 solo kills on
It was
side.
Rest, wasn't it? Yeah,
I think it was Rest. Into Fnatic, I'm gonna quickly double check, but I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, it was day one where it's like he got the solo kill on Poby bot, and then he just solo kills Oscar. Which, to be fair, that's Oscar being Oscar, as he is right now in his current form.
They're gonna lose to MKOI. They're so bad. I think Fnatic is so terrible.
They're doomed. I think we'll probably have a little bit of time to get into it later, but yeah,
that was Driver. That was Driver.
Oh, was it Driver? Okay.
Yeah, Rest came into the best.
But it
of
was
3
the
series.
driest solo kill. It was the fucking driest of all dry solo kills. Like, holy fuck, that was pathetic.
I think it was right after the caster said something like, man, when Oscar really loves League, that's when he plays his best. So he better start loving League. And then I think he died right after that. It was pretty brutal because he doesn't love League right now.
I feel like Sion, he's incredibly to me. I don't know if this is like a hot take. I feel like tanks aren't actually tanky enough generically, right? And a lot of them deal more damage than they should. But I feel like Sion is at like the correct amount of tankiness that I would like for a tank. But he also just deals a bit too much damage at the same time. And yeah, I just feel like he gets through so many lanes unscathed. Like there's not really too many lanes where like you're looking at it as the Sion side and you're like, shit, like I am not going to be able to exist this game. Like out just because of this lane setup. Great in swaps, which obviously we're seeing a bunch of right now too. I don't feel like there's too many drawbacks to having Sion in your composition with where the meta's at right now, because so much of it is either front to back or dive. Like those are typically just the two options, and he functions exceptionally well in basically every position that you would be, whether you're defending the dive, whether you're a part of the dive, and whether you are the frontlining tank. So I just feel like Sion is one of the highest value picks out of top lane right now because of all of those factors. And then again, he just lanes really well into a majority of the top lane pool.
Yeah, he's been a huge menace, and given all these front to back compositions, what they need to be able to function properly, more so than other champs. And again, best of ones, you know, it kind of sucks that it feels like, okay, we solved it. Sion's the guy. We'll see again when we go to best of threes and win in the knockout stage. But Sion has been the guy and been a menace. And Dom, closes out here. What has been your Highkey pick of the tournament so far in play-ins and Swiss stage?
Xin Zhao. I think Xin is very strong champion. I think people have kind of like, people were thinking, so pretty much if you track how everything worked, like Trundle was really OP, Jarvan was really OP, Xin was really OP, and then people were playing like a lot of like Vi and stuff like that early on.
Yep.
Vi got nerfed, Jarvan got nerfed, Xin got nerfed, Wukong got nerfed. But it's like Xin got nerfed before and it was still good. And then since then, it's like Jarvan's been nerfed. Since then, Wukong's been nerfed. You know, Trundle has always been like kind of whatever. And Xin has like indirectly been benefiting from the nerfs to all of the champions that were played against it. So for me, I think that Xin is like kind of just, you're always happy with it. A lot of times people have been like picking Wukong over it. They're like doing these trades where one team will get Orianna and then the enemy team will be like, okay, we're trading Orianna for Wukong because Wukong is like the highest prio jungler. But if Orianna plays with Xin Zhao or Ryze plays with Xin Zhao, or even like today, you know, G2 played like Anivia Xin Zhao, Xin Zhao just gets to exist in the game. It doesn't feel like you have a huge jungle advantage. So I think that Xin is just really strong. You know, like there's not many champions that I feel like actually beat it. And you're getting it for free right now in this tournament. It's not like you're having to early pick Xin Zhao most of the time. It's normally like, oh, you just take Xin when, you know, a couple of the other junglers are banned, and or if you get second pick jungle. And it's been performing. I think it's like 8-2 right now.
Yep, 8-2
overall. So it's pretty strong. I like it.
Yeah. I was flip-flopping between those two for my crystal ball winningest percentage pick, and I went with the Wukong over the Xin Zhao, and that's Wukong 6-2, Xin Zhao 8-2. Surprised that neither one of you picked the Orianna. Like Orianna's been pumping damage, but I like the picks that you had here. At home, what has been your surprise pick? What are ones that have dropped off here? Trundle 4-0, LeBlanc 2-0, Braum 4-1. Renekton 3-1 was kind of surprising. So let us know at home what you think here in terms of your Highkey, Lowkey, and Nokey picks. Which are ones that you don't want to see either. Love to hear that as we move through the Swiss stage. Just a couple days left, and tomorrow we start knocking out teams. Hopefully we'll be able to get this episode out before those teams get knocked out. Finally, time to remind you about our friends over at Raycon. Again, you know them, you love them. I talk about them all the time. It's our everyday earbuds classic. That it is Raycon's anniversary. And what better way to celebrate than a deal on the everyday earbuds classic? And now they're 20% 20% off. So it's the perfect time to get your hands on these reliable, super comfy, and easy to take anywhere headphones, and why they've been a fan favorite since day one. It has active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity, so you can pair two devices at once, an ergonomic fit that actually stays in your ears no matter what you're doing. I take these to the gym, I take these to work. I use these while I'm golfing, and I was a little worried that I was like, all right, golfing, I'm throwing as much force as I can, and this might pop on out. Never does. You see here, Cool Mint, the cool color that I got here. They've got a bunch of new colors that you can check out, match your own personality. Quick charging here, 10 minutes gives you 90% of play, or 90 minutes of play time, and up to 32 hours of battery life with the case. Plus awareness mode. So if I'm walking around, I want to make sure I can hear around, I just go ahead and tap my left ear and it lets me know what is around, so I can still hear outside while I'm still enjoying the crystal clear sound. Over 3 million customers already love Raycons, and they come with a 30-day happiness guarantee. So if for some reason you don't love them, returns are super easy. You got nothing to lose. So head on over to buyraycon.com/powerspike to get 20% off the everyday earbuds classic. That's buyraycon.com/powerspike to get yourself 20% off the everyday earbuds classic. That's my third pair. Continued to use them thanks to our friends over at Raycon. All right, time for the Galaxy Brain Club. Oh no, I lied. Time for Fraud Alert. Time to talk some shit. This is what everyone's here for, baby. Who are we talking shit about? I didn't put anything in here for the guys to pick because I'm letting them pick. So let's get into it. Fraud Alert. Who is taking the stand, or what is taking the stand on being super fraudulent? Let's get into it. All right, Jamada. Chat already going off. It's Shadow. It's Fnatic. It's all of them. Jamada, you go first. What is your pick for Fraud Alert, and what do you give them in terms of rating?
It's tough. I think everyone knows, for me, who the toss-up is in terms of, because we're doing teams, yes? We're not doing individuals. It's teams, I'm assuming, it being Worlds and all.
No, Jamada, you could do whatever the fuck you want. You're a big boy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man,
because
it's MKOI. It's
MKOI. You went MKOI.
It's
Oh my
MKOI.
god. All right. Keep going. Continue. What? All right. What? Let's lay out the case here on these frauds.
Lo siento, mi español. Your team fucking sucks, man. Your team fucking sucks. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. Like, the most MKOI way to lose a game. You have nothing's changed since domestics. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to like sit here as a part-time European representative and like at least be happy with something about all of my European teams going to Worlds. Besides the super performance for the laning, nothing else. Into Duckdom, and it's into Duckdom. Like, Duckdom's been good, but that's it. So I don't know. MKOI still have a lot of the same issues for me, where it's just like, okay, you have a 3k gold lead. End the game. Do something. Like, I think at least what's good, and my other pick was, I was debating between MKOI and Fnatic. Yeah. Is that Fnatic have gone down the route of being, I think where like G2 were, where they were like very, very vegan. That's where Fnatic are right now, and that's like really sad to see because of players on the team, the general like kind of narrative of Fnatic usually just being like the skirmishing team. They're not even doing that anymore. But with MKOI, it just, right now it just feels like you're watching them and you know they're gonna lose. I don't have hope watching MKOI games. I haven't had hope watching MKOI games. Every time I've opened the VOD and I've looked at the game states that they've been in, because I've not been able to watch them live, screw the NA schedule once more, everything just feels bad. And I'm gonna do the thing I've been doing all year. Jojo, man.
No.
Jojo, man. Look, I get it. Like, it's been BDD into caps. It's not like the easiest run of games on an individual level.
Yeah.
I'll be generous there, but he's still not done anything. And he's still doing all the same bullshit that he's been doing the entire year, which everyone just kind of makes up and goes, well, his laning phase is really good. You know, Knight said he had to sit up in his chair, right? You know, surely that means he's a good player. No, I've had enough. Like, yeah, it's MKOI. Like, they are my through and through frauds. I didn't have like much faith in Fnatic anyway, but I feel like MKOI, with the hype that especially like their community has given them, to come in and the draw has been KT and then G2, who they've been able to beat all year, and this is how they've showed up. I have nothing more to say. I don't have anything else to say. If they can put themselves in that position versus KT and then lose, and then the G2 game goes how the G2 game goes, I have nothing. I don't know. I think they should be very, very, very fucking happy that they drew Fnatic, because that is the only reason why they're going to get to play an additional best of 3. They will beat Fnatic. They will 100% beat. If they don't beat Fnatic, that's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. But alas, we'll see. You know, maybe Moen gives us a weird ass Varus game again. You know, and Oscar gives off one random good game because the Varus is in top lane. Like, there'll be some random shenanigans that really lets this fly.
All right, I looked it up in Spanish because my Spanish isn't wide enough right now to remember what that word is. Embarazosa or embarazoso. There you go. If MKOI don't make it on out here against Fnatic. It's funny because the MKOI run very easily could have been the KT run as well. MKOI could be KT right now. They could be 3-0. They could have been out in the group. But instead, and KT could have been 0-2 and been MKOI. But that's the funny part there. I love that. Dom, what do you make of this MKOI fraudulency? And then we'll go to your pick.
So MKOI, to me, the biggest issue is that they just don't know how to win with leads. Like, the game versus G2, oh my god, the game versus G2 is so crazy. The game versus G2, Elyoya gets like 3 free kills. And you literally saw earlier how Inspired played when he got a bunch of free kills on Wukong. It was literally the same day you see Inspired get a bunch of free kills on Wukong. And how he plays, it's like, all right, that means I'm just going to be accelerated to Triforce. That'll be my strong timing. Once I get Triforce, we'll fight. The whole point of Wukong is that, like, it's OP once you get Triforce. Before you get Triforce, it's not that strong, and it can't make that many plays like pre-6. So there's like the downside, and the upside is once you get Triforce, you're just like an OP champion. So in this game, they have a huge lead versus G2. Alistar is not level 6. Wukong has a bunch of free kills. He doesn't have Triforce yet. They don't have mid or bot pushed, and they tried to walk in and contest a Drake. It's like, there's actually 0 conditions that allow them to contest this Drake. They don't have either lane pushed, so they're not going to be first into the river. They don't have level 6 on their support, so support actually is like not strong enough to do anything in this fight. Alistar pre-6 is very squishy. And their jungler does not even have his big spike yet. Like, at this point, he has... Maybe he had like Sheen and Hearthbound. He had like Phage and Hearthbound Axe or something. The point is, he just didn't have Triforce. Like, he's not strong. And the enemy jungler, who's super behind, like Skewmond here, has a Tunneler and a Ruby Crystal. So he's like, situationally, his items don't make him stronger. So they walk in and they try to contest this and they lose the whole game versus G2. And I feel like that's just the mark of a bad team, because they don't have any reason as to why they're doing what they're doing. Like, there's no conditions that allow you to do that. Like, I think that, you know, decent teams still make mistakes, but you can see what they're going for. It's like, oh, well, you know, in this situation, they want to fight because their Alistar's level 6, so they want to fight this. So even if Wukong doesn't have Triforce, they still think it's winnable. Or they have their lanes pushed, so they're first in the river, so they think they can get a pick on somebody who walks in, or they have positional advantage. But they had literally 0 advantages, and they just walked in and lost the whole game anyway. So that was insane to me. Like, when I saw this, I was like, okay, this team is not going anywhere in this tournament. And then the game versus KT, like, the way they threw it was so random. It was like they threw over this Otacon and they walk forward and they get like 4-man Orianna ulted, The Lulu gets hit by Orianna ult with flash up, doesn't even ult in the fight. The Lulu doesn't even ult, and then they lose. It's like, I mean, I don't know. They had a better comp. They're in much better position, and they can't close out. So I feel like they're just still the same team they've always been. They're like, Alvaro's pretty good at engage supports. He's not very good at range supports. They're good at getting leads. If they're versus a team that is not that good, they'll be able to like win through Drake and stuff. And then versus any team that is like kind of smart about the game, they just fall apart. They just will eventually int some fight terribly and then lose the game. So I just feel like they're stagnating, which is kind of sad because like I feel like this lineup had a lot of promise. Like the core of this lineup had a lot of promise. But I mean, I saw even Veteran tweeted this. Like he's been watching them all the way back in ERLs, and he's like, this team has literally the same exact problems that G2 Arctic had when these same players, or the core of this same players, were playing on the team like 6 years ago. Like they actually have the same exact issues. So I don't know how to get better at this for them. Like normally this is like where roster changes come in, but it just looks like they're really off. I don't know. Pathetic.
Yeah, it just makes me sad. I like seeing my NA boys succeed. Actually, I like Elyoya as well succeed, but it hasn't quite clicked there for them. And then Supa's, anytime an AD carry, you have the, you look up at the scoreboard and you're just like, what the fuck is going on around me? I can't play the game. I always feel for that player as well. So a lot of feelings there, I guess, except for Alvaro and Merwin. But let's see, not done yet. They do have the opportunity here against Fnatic, and they'll try to make the 0-2 to 3-2 run to make it into the knockouts, but not boding well for MKOI. Dom, fraud alert. We only have a couple left in our run here in Power Spike, so let's see where this one goes. A classic Worlds fraud.
How many fraud alerts do I get? How many frauds do I get?
I'll give you 2 so that you can save some for the end of the Swiss stage.
All right, okay. Number 1 fraud, I'm gonna go T1, just completely fraudulent team. Like I gotta say, I feel really ashamed about this because I had them as a top 2 team coming into Worlds. Like I thought they would do really well at Worlds, and they've been completely dog shit. So, I was somebody who misanalyzed them. I thought that they were actually a decent team. I was giving credit to people like Faker, really bad by me. Poor analysis, poor form, honestly. And yeah, they've looked pathetic. Like this loss versus Gen G, the game wasn't even close. Like it was literally just over from draft, and then they entered the game. You can tell based on like the champions they're playing, they're not going to win. Their gameplay is bad. I mean, even Owner looks bad at this point. Doran is just international Doran. He's giving over free wins to CFL. Like I thought that they could lose to a team like Gen G, but I didn't think they'd get bitch smacked by a team like Gen G, like to this degree. Like the games domestically didn't look like this, bro. They went to 5 with Gen G. Like they actually played a series against Gen G. They got bitch smacked in this BO1. And then Doggo was doing doggy style to them, bro. Like he was really just letting them fucking know. And yeah, I don't know. It was really tough. Like I feel like there's been enough footage recently on social media about how to counter doggos and like what could be things that could be used as tools to control a doggo that was acting in a poor way, but they weren't able to use any of these tools. Like I guess they just don't watch a Sanabi stream. Like I don't know what it is. So yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough out here for T1. I don't know. It's that's 10 out of 10 frauds. What else can I say?
You can do your next one.
All right, next one is BLG. BLG is they're so hard to watch, completely unrecognizable. The point that I made on stream about BLG is not only are they the worst performing LPL team, they have had by far the easiest draw out of all the LPL teams. They've got to play against 100 Thieves, Fnatic, and G2. They've been playing against only Western teams, and they're 1-2. Like, the number 1 seed from LPL is beating. Like, I felt bad when we lost to 100 Thieves on C9. I was like, damn, we lost a 5-game series to 100 Thieves. That sucks. Like, I felt bad about that. Brother, you guys are BLG. You're the number 1 seed from LPL, and you guys got your ass beat. Like, ass beat by 100 Thieves. Like, that game wasn't even really close. So, I don't know, man. Like, they look so off. Ben has been playing fucking terrible. His Cassante was bad. His Rek'Sai was bad. I mean, I don't know what team I'm watching because they were the best LPL team, and they've had the easiest draw, and they're performing the worst. It's completely crazy. Like, Ale couldn't hold the candle to them domestically, but Ale is 3-0 after playing against Hanwha Life and Gen G, where they are just fucking shitting the bed against Western teams. Like, cut the Western shit.
That is probably my favorite replay of the tournament, and will be one of the memories of this tournament. It was the replay to top lane on the rec side, just taking the tower shot, waiting, taking the other tower shot, waiting, taking the third tower shot, being like, what the fuck? And Dokla just kills him. And then it leads to this, 24 hours of Dokla, 24 hours of 100 Thieves. That is one of the worst plays that I've seen at Worlds, other than maybe the LEP. What is the LEP 0, 16, and 0 or whatever it was stat line that he had from the Brazilian team? Yeah, that's what it felt like. Every time I see that, I'm just like, oh God. And the fact that we've interviewed him before, we know how good he's been. He's gigabin, and that was like, what is it, like gigabin, megabin, kilobin, bin, microbin, picobin, yeah, whatever is underneath that's what that one was. Also, shout outs to Dokla breaking Chinese TikTok after that win. He had like 3 million views on his TikTok in bed talking shit about it after the win. Or 6 million views.
Yeah.
So thank you, Brother Bin, for creating a Bollywood star in China. Not the phrase that I thought I would say after the first week of Worlds, or in Worlds in general, or just ever. All right, those are our frauds. Oh, Jamada, thoughts here on BLG before we close it on out.
Okay, I've got the pathing, right?
Okay.
Shadow gets deported. Remember, he's on European passport.
That's right.
H1 falls incredibly ill. Can't play. Shitting himself. Just can't do it. Emergency substitution. GG. It's still there. I'm just saying, like, it's not too many points away from happening. Like, we get out of this 1-2 situation. We qual into top 8, right? We at least turn the ship around. Break between, how big is the break again between end of Swiss and Cores? It's still like a few days, like it usually is, right? Fantastic.
Tiny. It's tiny. Maybe like 3 days.
GG signed within that little window. We're back. That's it. That's my take. Yeah, no, I don't know. BLG have just been volatile all year. Is there really much to say? It's like we're getting the shit BLG right now at Worlds. They looked like this last year as well in Swiss, right? Where I'm pretty sure they went down 1-2, and they came all the way back to finals. So it's not like they haven't been here as a collective, but this version of BLG feels far harder to believe in than last year's version of BLG.
Yeah. I now realize that they have 2 of my favorite moments from this as well. Because remember, after the victory that they had, Jamada, Lord did the sit-down interview with Shadow. Shadow's like, oh, beating European teams? I'm used to it. And then what were the parting words that he said? He said, I hope that European teams get better so it feels better beating them. Oh, God. That's rough. That's rough. So that combined with the Rek'Sai, a brutal run here for BLG. Those are our 2 fraud alerts. 3 fraud alerts. Let us know in the comments below what you think on them, and also if we missed one. But don't worry, we got you covered, because now it's time for Galaxy Brain Club to cover everything else that we have here at Worlds, other teams that we haven't talked about yet, and the futures, as we still don't know what our matchups are for the 1-2s, and we got our 0-2s to talk about, which we'll play tomorrow. Let's get into it. This week's Galaxy Brain Club. Chat bringing up a good one. We missed VKS, where Trimby was pleading with the audience to believe him that they're not that bad. And unfortunately,
They're losing to tomorrow. I fear.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look great for him.
I mean, the real take is like, look, I didn't say it afterwards because, it looks like it's in poor taste, but I think that 100 Thieves just had a bad day versus them. I still think 100 Thieves is a better team than VKS. I think most of the time 100 Thieves would win.
Yeah.
Like, it just is what it is. Like, I don't actually think that the gap is that close where like VKS is, actually would be like the second best team in NA if they played a split here or something.
Sure. I agree.
Oh.
And I think that's the mark of a lot of Western teams. It's what version are you getting? Are you getting the team that can punch way above their weight and surprise everyone? Or is it more of a, you're just kind of disappointed and you're not going to be able to get the victory here. So, yeah, VKS, maybe they got one more punch above them in the tank against Maple's magic run team here. Final run, the last dance for the last time for real this time, PSG, or maybe not. And they just go home 0-3 and thankful that they get a world spot for next year. All right. What else have we missed out on? I think, let's see. There was one. VKS was one of them. Let me go look. There was one more that I was thinking of that was kind of like a thing I want to talk about. AL. We haven't talked to AL. AL 3-0, CFO 2-1. Those are two teams that I think deserve just a little bit of coverage here. AL, that's your team. When you sign up at lolesports.com and support Dom, join his, I don't know what you named it. Was it Crackheads or Crackhead? Were you able to use crack in your...
No, I did. Downfall enjoyers. We're
Downfall
enjoying
enjoyers.
some Downfall right now.
You're enjoying Downfall, and the team you're supporting 3-0 made it on out. AL being the hope of the Chinese fans there, which, yeah, the Chinese fans there so far. How do you feel about their performance here?
I mean, I think it's been pleasantly surprising. I do think that they're pretty lucky to beat 3-0. Like the Genji game was good at points, but they did make the same mistake versus both Hanwha Life and Genji, where they like over prioritized the objective over the fight on third Drake, and they just lost the fight horribly and ended up giving over 4 kills, and they go into the Audicon situation down 3k gold and they end up pulling it out. So I mean, they've been looking better than expected for sure. I mean, they should have been by far the weakest Chinese team out of the 3 at Worlds, but they've been doing, they've been doing really well. Tarzan, obviously, I mean, I consider him like probably the second best player in the world after Chovy. This guy is fucking completely insane. I think he's been super good. Yeah, I've been really respecting his gameplay. I think Kale is playing so much better than he was domestically. Same thing for Shank. But they are pretty.
Yeah, he's been so good.
They are pretty lucky that Hanwha Life was gonna win if Zika just had a tier. Like that's the reality of the situation. Like he didn't have a tier. Don't get me wrong. Like he just didn't buy a tier. But if he did buy a tier, like he has every other Rise game that he's ever played in his entire life, they win the game. Like they win the game. Like he would have had Seraphs for the Audicon situation. And one thing I said on stream that I truly believe is that like if you watch how Zika was playing really well in this Rise game overall. Like he understood exactly what he needed to do. Like he was marking Cassia well. And as soon as he completed his Archangels and he realized that he forgot to buy a tier, it fucked his mental. Like he literally started playing so much worse mechanically when he realized this, because it was just like overwhelming to him. If you watch how he plays after he buys Archangels and he realizes he has no tier, it's night and day difference to what it was beforehand. Beforehand, it was all good, like he was chilling. He was doing whatever he wanted. He was like, okay, I need to mark this guy. He was in the zone. It's like, yeah, he didn't have a tier, but it didn't matter. But once he realized, like, oh fuck, bro, I forgot to buy a tier. Like, how did I forget to buy a tier? Like that was spinning in his head. You could tell that this psychologically affected him. And the rest of the game, he played like ass. So AL is pretty lucky that they ended up getting the 2-0 over Hanwha Life and Genji. I don't think that if they play one of these teams in the upper bracket or in the bracket stage, first round, like I don't think that they're favorites versus these teams now. Like I don't think that they are expected to win versus a team like Hanwha Life or a team like Genji in a best of 5. I think maybe they could. Like I think Hanwha Life. I think that I would guess that they would beat Hanwha Life, but I think that Genji would still beat them in a best of 5. I mean, I still rate Genji as the best team in the world, right? So I wouldn't read into it too much. At the end of the day, it's best of ones. Versus CFO, I don't think they played amazing. I thought their game one draft was pretty weird. Like Maokai in game one, not a huge fan of. Maokai Kled in game one into Wukong. I think Wukong is pretty strong right now. So I wasn't huge on their game one draft, but overall, I thought that they played well. Like I was pleasantly surprised because I thought that they would be one of the teams that was like fighting to get out of the bracket stage, like, or the Swiss stage, like 3-2. I thought would probably be where they would be.
Yeah, definitely. I like your shout outs there, Shanks and Kyle. The poor, not poor Zeka. I mean, poor Zeka. Just, I guess because I'm close to it, my girlfriend is a Hanwha Life fan. I feel bad for her, but she started watching last year. She then is the one that consumes all the content. She's like, "Baby, did you see what happened today on FM Korea?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to know," especially because I could buy it, and he was just getting destroyed. So I think your point of like, oh shit, he knew he was gonna get shit on, it's so valid. It's so valid.
It's really obvious if you watch the game and you just look at like when he completes Archangels and he realizes it's at 0, because that's normally when you check again, right? Like you buy your tier in lane, and then once you have Archangels completed, you like check. You're like, all right, how close am I to Seraphs? And then when he was like, wait, I didn't buy a tier, I'm on 0 stacks. Like it completely warped the rest of his game.
You know, the slightly worse thing about it as well is that when you play Ryze, he's like one of the champions where on completion you pretty much always have it fully stacked, just because of how like Ryze spams out his spells compared to some of the other tier like stacking champions. So it had to have just been like a straight stun lock too, where it's like it doesn't transform and then it just says 0 and you're like, oh fuck. So yeah, just horrible.
Yeah, it is pretty terrible feeling there, and to know that they could have been 3-0, to know that they could have been out, especially given the way that, you know, they've played against the other teams, has been a bit of a bummer there for Zeka. But they are 2-1. Here's our 2-1 teams: CFO, FlyQuest, G2, Gen.G, Hanwha, and Top Esports. Let's move to FlyQuest. FlyQuest 2-1. They lost 2-1, but you know, they've had a pretty blessed path after that with the LTA rematch beatdown, and then Team Secret just kind of fighting their way into a loss. What is the best draw here for FlyQuest? If you're an NA fan, Western fan with hope, you know, which way does it go here for them? Is it just draw G2? I mean, G2 was, they're cooking. They cooked a little bit there, but where do you see it here, Jamada?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's just G2, right? Like that's the team that you're hoping to draw. Maybe you feel happy about going into Top Esports. Like the one thing historically, obviously, with Top Esports is they're a very emotional team. Like this general core of players that are present on the lineup are very till heavy, and I think you kind of saw some of that in their game 2 versus KT. Like once things started to go wrong, it felt like they just tapped out. You know, like it really didn't feel like they were present in the game. And I do believe that FlyQuest are a very, very momentum heavy team in my opinion, where I feel like once things start to probably feel good, like in the comms, the like plays start to flow a lot better. I think they match up, you know, 1-to-1 pretty good across the board, right? I think the one place where I'll be pretty concerned is bot, where it's like it's not like a lack of faith in Busio and Masu per se, but it's like if Top Esports are playing the game the way that they prefer to play the game, which I feel like is usually relatively box standard, playing like mid into bot, if FlyQuest don't have an answer for that, then I think that gets tricky. And I feel like top lane, obviously Bwipo, depending on like side select, he's the kind of guy that's willing to bring out weird shit, right? Like he's played 2 games out of 3 on the Mordekaiser so far.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the only top that's been playing it, besides the fact that obviously the Team Secret World's top laner
played it into him.
Played it into him. So it's clear that he's very happy to try and find some answers into, you know, stability picks, which obviously 369 traditionally more so known for, even though as of late he's been kind of given the reins to play more carry based picks. So I would say definitely G2, just for the sake of it being a Western team, is like the most favorable draw, right? At the end of the day, even though G2 have certainly improved a lot, just on a nameplate basis, it's like, hey, who would you rather go against, G2 or like top esports? Likelihood is you just say G2 by de facto, right? But I do feel like their matchup is very good in top esports, so I feel like they'll be happy with either. I think obviously the ideal is like avoid the Korean teams. I think in a best of one, it's not around. Oh, I guess best of three because they're 2-1, but like best of three especially is where I would prefer not to be for the time being into a Korean team if I had to call in for quarters.
Yeah. How about for you, Dom? Like, is it where do the FlyQuest hopes to make it out here at a 3-1 lie?
I think it's just G2 or Flying Oyster. Like, these teams are the worst out of all the teams around objectives, like when they have leads. And FlyQuest is a team that really capitalizes if you don't play a clean game from start to finish. I think top esports sometimes runs down games, but they normally run it down when they're under some type of pressure, but they get really far ahead if you don't do anything. I mean, you saw it in the game versus G2 when top esports played G2. It's like they just run away with the entire game. So I think that FlyQuest style is best against teams that are pretty good and like aggressive, but are not clean in their execution of like mid to late game objectives. So that's where I expect FlyQuest to be able to do the most.
Yeah, I think it feels like it's a mixture of those teams. It does feel like G2 would be the best matchup, and then one Western team at least makes it on out. But it's been nice to have teams that win when they're supposed to win. Again, when I was explaining it to, new fans, like NA teams, they're number 1 seed, they were the best, they're the dominant. It's now this time we're sending a super team or whatever, and they would just go and they would just choke. They would shit the bed. They wouldn't be able to beat teams. They would do nothing for 20 minutes and lose. Like, those days are behind us for now, and I'm excited to see how the draw goes and which teams would be able to surprise us here and do what they're supposed to do, so that in the future that just becomes the standard expected moving forward between the squads here in the West, and then the fans can get behind it, all that good stuff. Like that's how I feel. Let's go down to the pit of sadness. Fnatic, Movistar KOI. That we just feel like that should be a KOI win. That was Jamada's feeling. How do you feel about this here, Dom?
I feel the same way. I just think Fnatic is too bad right now. Like, their drafts don't make sense, and it feels like just they're playing not to look terrible. Like the Ezreal pick, man. The Ezreal pick in the first game that they played, where they're playing into like a full tank team comp, and then they're like, let's just go Ezreal here. It's like, you're not picking to win. The way that they played into with the Fnatic draft into in their last match with not flexing the Aurora top, because they, I guess into BLG, they didn't want to play Aurora top into, Bin blinding Renekton, but it's like, bro, Bin blinded Renekton when you have Aurora already picked. Just flex the Aurora and then pick something else mid, and you can actually have like a comp that's designed to win lane, right? Like you have K Morgana that should be pressuring bot, you have Aurora that should be able to pressure top. Enemy team can't swap well in this game because, I mean, imagine if Renekton is swapping into fucking Kate Morg or something. You should be able to play this game out, but they just look so insecure when it comes to being able to commit to a comp that will actually win, as opposed to just doing what will make them look terrible.
Yeah.
And it's doing the opposite like it always does. So I don't know. I just feel like they're going to show up and MKOI will probably beat them the same way that they beat them in the second, third match.
Yeah. Final thoughts on that, Jamada, since you're the one that started that.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think a lot of this just lies in how docile Fnatic look, more so than MKOI. I think the onus is entirely on MKOI to not lose. That's how I would actually put that series. Like if MKOI lose, it will be their fault. Like it won't be because Fnatic played well. It will be their own doing. That's how I see that series.
It just seems like a series of pain for the Europeans. And again, the desk, Oh, the desk was just lore, Dracos, hysterics. Everyone was just hurting on the desk while Rats was just cackling away with the 100 Thieves win on day one. That was just such a funny dynamic there and just pretty brutal. So fans of the European teams, because we know we have a lot of you for European fans out there, let us know how you feel about your team's performances so far. I mean, you got something to hang your hat on. It is an underperforming BLG, but I wouldn't let that take that away from the success that G2 found there with the Anivia pick in a comeback too, right? They were down and I was like, shit, this game's over. And they found ways to get back into that game. Then they closed the door and were able to seal the deal. It was impressive by G2 to come back there. I again, props to G2. They didn't do it the way that it was expected, but they got the job done. That's what matters in this phase where you can then get to best of fives and flex your champ pools, get more games under your belt, get more scrims under your belt, and feel good about it. So shout outs to them. Let's see. 100 Thieves beating BLG at the time felt like a top 5 upset. But now that we've seen underperforming BLG, it doesn't feel like that. How did you feel about it, Dom, when they won?
When G2 won?
No, when 100 Thieves beat BLG.
Oh, when 100 Thieves beat BLG.
Yeah. So back day one.
I don't know. Like I was just surprised how bad BLG was playing, to be honest. Like,
sure.
Like what Bin did top was just so confusing. And then also when I think about like BLG as a team, this is like by far their best bot lane draft. Like they are so OP at Kate, Elise, and they played in a good situation. And then Beichuan played fucking terrible. Like Beichuan in this invade, pretty much Caitlyn, Elise, they have the ability to pressure bot. Instead, Elise uses this timer in order to just flash into the enemy jungle and try to kill the jungle, try to kill the jungler who's on blue. And Beichuan just misses the damage from his EQ and then has to flash to redirect it so that they're able to, still get onto him. And then the guy lives with like 1 HP. This should be just a dead Xin Zhao until maybe you die bot afterwards. You at least get bot crab and you should be super ahead in this game. So it was just really weird to see how bad BLG was playing.
Yeah. What did you think of it, Jamada?
I'm less so surprised. Like the volatility of BLG is just kind of where my mind's at. Where it is unfortunate that it's even possible, in my opinion. Just because again, we've seen such incredible ceilings come out of this team, minus obviously the jungle slot, over the last 2 years. But right now, whether it be mechanical performance, whether it be like occasional draft, whether it be like just the overall approach of how they think they should be playing the game, all of these things are never in line with one another. And pretty much the only constant has been Knight. And even then, Knight's privy to like the odd bad game here and there, right? But yeah, obviously manhandled pretty much everyone on the way to LPL finals. So I say like credit to 100 Thieves, and it's not to like try and take wind out of their sails, but I think it speaks a lot more to where BLG are at than where 100 Thieves are at, because I feel like for 100 Thieves they've been on a momentum run for a while. Like sure, kind of getting gut punched by VKS in semis didn't feel good, but you can attribute that, I feel like, to like bad day. VKS also had a very, very strong looking day worth of performances too, but they've been getting better and better, and I feel like this is one of those wins from a Western team where it feels like the like not reaping what you sow, but like seeing results. I suppose it's technically reaping what you sow. Like seeing results on improvement of like, hey, we were able to beat a Eastern team on stage, best of one, cool, just the best of one, but that still feels really good. It's like when you see any other top team out of the West that's been developing over the course of a year or maybe 2 years actually start to look competitive with the East, right? Obviously a small stretch on that narrative in general, just because of
a little bit
very, very strong underperformance of BLG. But I hope you like get the gist. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I guess the grander story or the sadder thing is obviously that there's the reality of the 100 Thieves lineup being the same is just dead. Like there's no way it's going to be here next year as a 5 on any org. It's going to get split up. So one last heist, one last dance, etc. Good for them, but again, more an indictment on how BLG's volatility is actually letting them look horrible versus Western teams.
Yeah. All right, y'all. That does it here from us. We've talked it in and out. And we just have the elimination matches, our 1-2s, and then our 2-2s. So a couple of parting facts for you that I looked up. The dubious fact here is that there have been 2 teams that started 0-2 and failed at the final hurdle to make the comeback and try to qualify on out. That was in 2024. So last year, it was started 0-2. It was Team Liquid. They lost to LNG and Weibo, beat Pain and Gam, and then lost to FlyQuest, obviously, for that quarter final spot. And then in 2023, it was D plus Kia. They started 0-2 and they beat BDS. They beat Gam. Thanks, Gam. And then lost to KT Rolster for that spot over in Busan. And then the inverse is also true. A couple teams that started 2-0 and didn't qualify. So in this case, it would be CFO and
Thank you.
CFO and Top Esports last year, who started 2-0 didn't make it. It was D plus, and then before that, it was G2 in 2023, dropping the NRG
they lost
and
NA.
DLG.
Yeah, they lost to Palafox.
Yeah.
Palafaker. What can you say? Stretching out that career by several years, thanks to that big win. What an episode it was. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Continue to support the boys in their content and review. Dom's doing the co-streams. Jamada pumping out the content. And I am enjoying the off season. Thank you so much for watching. And we will catch you at the end of the Swiss stage for another episode of Power Spike. Until then, take care.